So yeah, thank you all for being here with us to Hampshire College's admitted students, current students, and alumni theater board panel. We really appreciate you taking the time in your schedules to be here with us just to talk about what our theater program has to offer and the different experiences and unique opportunities that really bring our community together, especially during this time when we're all trying to figure things out. Um, so I would just like to go around with our panelists to introduce ourselves. Um, so if Fiona would like to start us off, everyone will go around with their names, their pronouns, their relationship to Hampshire, either if it's a role on theater board or if you, in relationship to what you've been studying, and then we'll pass it on from there.
Hello, I'm Fiona. I use she, her, or any pronouns. I am going to be a Div 3 this fall. I study stage management and set design, and I am community contact on theater board. So I will pass it on to Dell.
Hello, I'm Dell. I use they, them pronouns. I graduated Hampshire in the spring of last year, 2019. I was on theater board for 3 years as the props monitor, and I studied sculpture, but also props. Props is a method for storytelling. I built an interactive sort of art/theater exhibit for my Div 3. Yeah, and let's go to Aiden.
Hi, I'm Aiden. I use he, him pronouns. I also graduated in the spring of last year, and I studied a lot of things, but mostly light design and early childhood education. So right now I'm working as an infant toddler assistant teacher, and I'm doing light design and other theater things on the side. And I'll pass to Ezekiel.
Hi, I'm Ezekiel. I use they, them pronouns. I also graduated from Hampshire last year. I was on theater board for also 3 years as the facilitator, among other things. And now I am a freelance theater artist and a staff member at 5 Colleges, which is the sort of consortium entity that Hampshire is a part of. And I studied directing primarily and theater education and directed several projects for my Div 3. I will pass to Eloix.
Hi, I'm Eloix. I use they, them pronouns. I am currently on theater board, and I think I've been on theater board for like collectively maybe a year, but maybe only a semester. I can't really remember. I'm currently a Div 2 student, and I primarily focus on the design side of theater. And I'll pass to Fiona.
I started, so I'm going to pass again to Eugene.
Howdy, howdy. I'm Eugene. I use he, him. I am the budget coordinator for theater board, and I probably have been doing it for also about like a year, I would say. About. Yeah. So I've been on theater board for about a year, and I've gone into creative writing and theater and taking inspiration from kind of like the different classes that have come from just being in Hampshire. Right. And I shall pass it to Blythe. Have you gone yet? Okay, your turn.
Hello, I'm Blythe. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a Div 2 at Hampshire, and this is my first semester on theater board. I'm the dance liaison, so mainly my focus is in dance, but I've also taken theater classes and participated in helping with like set design like making sets. So yeah, and I will pass it along to Fiona. Hi, I'm Fiona. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the props monitor on theater board, and this is my first semester doing that. Yeah, shout out to Dell. I study Indigenous studies and theater and environmental sciences and the intersections between those three things. I will pass it on to Tiz if you have one.
Yeah, I'll take it back. So yeah, I'm Tiz. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the current facilitator on theater board and former props monitor. Yeah, and I am also studied acting and directing, as well as other areas of design. So yeah, thank you all again for being here. I believe that's all of our panelists for this evening. And so I don't know how much all of you are aware of what theater board is, but at Hampshire College, our theater program has the longest student government body on its campus called Theater Board. And our program is completely student driven in collaboration with staff and faculty. Each position on the board is volunteer based and holds voting power, in which we field and curtail all of our different operations and activities that are going on our campus in regards to our theatrical season, our courses, our different workshops and showcases that happen throughout the year. And so we've all just grown very close in working with one another in helping our program thrive and making sure that we're presenting alternative forms of theater and theater in ways that really push the limits and understanding of what stage performance is. So yeah, speaking of our little performances, I was hoping that I could share my screen with you all and show you some photos from past productions, projects, and classes that our panelists have been a part of. So I will do that now. Oh, let's see here. Great. Looks like it's working. So as you can see, we've got some photos from a production in spring of 2019 titled Georgina Street. And I believe this was Dell's Division 3 project. So Dell, if you want to take it away and talk about what this project meant to you.
Sure. So like I mentioned, I studied props and sculpture while at Hampshire. So this piece was sort of a recreation of my late grandmother's home that I spent a lot of time in as a child. So I got to use a lot of different skills for this project. You can see in the center there at the top is a pump organ. So I built that based solely on memory and not on actual photos of her house. And I worked on my carpentry skills a lot, and it was sort of a community event that people were invited to participate in. And we built a rug together, and I had a television playing some of my favorite TV shows as a kid. So it was sort of a way to hold space to share with friends, because I like to consider, or I still do, but not in the same ways as I did at Hampshire, figure out how to blur the lines between art installation and theater, and also ways that objects can be performative, and the way that they can tell stories. Not always in this way, but sometimes just as props that are being held by actors in different pieces. And yeah.
Great, and I forgot to mention that if any of our other panelists who've worked on these projects that we're going to be looking at have some thoughts to share, feel free to either raise your hand if you have a new thought or something you'd like to add, or if you have something that bounces off of something that someone just said, you can raise 2 fingers in a crossed position as so. And yeah, so.
I forgot to add that Fiona did the lighting design. Thanks, Fiona.
Yes, it was beautiful. Yes, Ezekiel.
Latch hooking the rug together was like definitely a highlight experience of
Yeah.
last year, and it was just really sort of like a lovely community space of like working on this project together. That's all.
Yeah, Del, could you tell us a bit more about the latch hooking process?
Yeah, so starting in like I think February of last year, I held weekly events where I invited people to latch hook with me, which is the creation of the rug, because I realized that the amount that I wanted to create was not going to be possible by myself. So I think I learned a good sort of a time management sort of thing, but also a way to share space with friends that I didn't get to see very often because we all got so busy with our Div 3s. Yeah, and I wanted there to be a more interactive element so people felt like they were actually participating in the piece. I did make some of the parts on the pump organ movable, but because that wasn't a whole lot to be able to interact with, I thought it was nice to have another sort of interactive piece and I could teach people how to do it and they felt like they could leave with a new skill.
Great, awesome. Now let's move on to our next series of photos. So now this production of Canius, written by Samuel Edwards, who is one of our admission staff members and former alum, included many of us on the panel and had two iterations, one in spring of 2018 that was a staged reading, and then later again in fall 2018 that was a fully staged production. Yeah, is there anyone who feels engaged to talk about it? Yeah, Blythe.
This is on something else. If we could just put it in present view or full screen, I think that would help everyone see the photos better.
I'll give it a shot. I had some concerns about being able to moderate effectively, but let's see. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Blythe. So here we are. Yeah, Ezekiel?
I'm going to have too much to say about everything because it's too fun to talk about all the things that we've done. But I think some things that made this project special were the fact that it was a collaboration between multiple Div 3s, myself directing and Samuel writing it and Del doing the sound design, which also incorporated some object creation, like a wind machine that was very exciting. And I think that was, yeah, there it is. I think that was a really beautiful example of how Division 3 students can work together and how theater helps to enable Div 3s to work together and collaborate. And also the sort of the time span of the project, I think was pretty unique and exciting that we did the staged reading in the spring. And then got feedback from our audience and from the actors in that process. And then Samuel revised the script and we did a fully staged production in the fall. And that was, some of the actors were the same and some of them were different and some of them were in new roles. And it was just like it was a really lovely process.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that to the wind machine turbine masterpiece, I was able to operate it during the show, and I just from the get-go thought it was such an innovative use and exploration into sound design, and I think really also demonstrated the level of agency and support that our program offers students in constructing both a prop and also a sound design element like these. Yeah, so I wish I could have kept it. Are there any other things that people want to share about Canius? Great, then I will move on.
No, Samuel has a hand.
Oh,
you just can't see him in your screen view.
Let's see, Sam. Let's see. Oh, maybe this will work better. Go ahead, Sam.
No worries. So I'm Samuel Edwards. I use he, him pronouns. I work in admissions currently, and I'm an alum as well. I graduated in fall 2018. If you've ever called admissions or emailed admissions, you've talked to me. Yeah, Canius was a really special thing to work on. I think a thing that was really important about it was that it was an almost all trans cast and crew, which was really special and doesn't get to happen in theater a lot. And I think also it was really special just to work on this project for a whole year and have my whole year be devoted to this craft and to see my work get fully realized in a way a lot of other undergraduate playwrights don't get to experience.
Great, thanks, Sam. All right, then let's see if I can move on to the next slide. Here we go. So this is, these are photos from 48 North, which was a production in spring of 2017, which was before my time. So if anyone likes to take it away and talk about what this performance was like. Yeah, Aiden.
Yeah, this actually, so this was one of my earlier projects that I worked on at Hampshire. I worked on it with a bunch of people who were in the theater program far before I ever even thought to get into it. And this was a unique project because it was also much like Georgina Street, mostly just about the space and the props and like the way the audience came in and interacted with the space. But it also was unique in that it gave a lot of, at that time, I think I was in my second year at Hampshire, and I was just getting into theater here, and I was able to try roles on this project that I had never tried before, and I brought in a lot of other younger students who also had never done their roles, and we all got to essentially just learn and experience together, which was really cool. And then we got to watch different audiences go through and see how they experienced the piece in themselves, which was really awesome.
Great, thanks, Aiden. Are there any other thoughts? Yeah, Ezekiel.
Also, we recorded there were no live actors, there were only actors whose performances were recorded onto cassette tapes, and you had to use a cassette player within the piece to listen to them and find them around the space, and it was awesome.
Great, thanks everyone. Next we have, let's see here. I assume the photos aren't changing for anyone. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing for one moment. Okay, now let's try this one more time.
While we're kind of waiting for technical stuff, does anyone have any thoughts or questions based on what you've seen so far?
All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, I'd like to take a look at intimacy in motion. Yeah, go ahead, Aiden.
So this project was my Div 3. Me and my partner Quinn worked on this together. They actually built the house structure that you see in the pictures. And this project was specifically a collaboration between the theater department and the dance department. And so this whole project was a series of pieces based on the question of what is home and how do we find home and how do we know when we are home. So there were dance pieces, there were poetry pieces, there were audience interactive pieces, there was music, there was all sorts of things in it. I think that one of the most exciting elements to this for me was being able to, from start to finish, have just a concept to work off of and be able to collaborate so deeply with people about what they think the answer to these questions are, and make art based on that, make theater based on that, make dances based on that. It was all just really exciting. And also being able to, like other people have said, work with other Div 3s who are deep in focusing on one project, and being able to, do that with another person is really lovely. And it builds a really strong connection, I think, between people as well.
Definitely. Yeah, Fiona.
Yeah, speaking to the audience perspective, I got to see this piece, and just one thing that really struck me was, yeah, as you can see here, the beautiful like lighting design, and just the amount of time and energy put into it, and also just the real invitation that I felt in this theater piece and feel in many other Hampshire theater pieces, of being allowed to see something, and drawn in and pulled in. Especially since being in one's home is such a personal thing. For this piece particularly, I really felt, yeah, it's particularly drawn in, and it's very special to see. Yeah.
Blythe, did you have something to share?
I was just gonna say, I was able to participate. Aiden invited me to do a very, like, at the very beginning of this work, and then due to other things, I couldn't be a part of the middle part. But it was really exciting. Like, this was my first year, when I like helped with this a little bit, and to be invited right away to participate in something and like someone's really important work that they were doing was very exciting, and it felt really welcoming. And I got to collaborate with different people and just like meet creators and people who are interested in creating art. So that was a really exciting part of the show.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Just seeing the ways in which the students in this production collaborated was really heartwarming and inspiring. And I could just tell that they were having so much fun. And specifically as both a theater and dance student, being able to witness this production, both in our theater, but also in our dance studios across campus, it was really just enlivening to be able to see different audiences who may not necessarily opt to go into one venue towards another, be able to get a chance to see this performance. Yeah, it was just a huge success, I would say, in Hampshire's performing arts. Are there any other? Oh yeah, Sam.
Oh, so if people have thoughts about intimacy and motion, I think that should go first. But I just wanted to flag that there are a few questions in the chat, whether we wanted to address those now or after the slideshow.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, let's address them after the slideshow, which is when we'll have plenty of time to do a Q&A portion.
Sounds good.
Great. Were there any other thoughts about intimacy and motion? Don't think so. Okay, let's see if I can get it to move forward this time. All right, technical difficulties one more time. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Would it work to just escape, like to not be full screen and then try to move to the next page without unsharing?
I tried that, it was being difficult.
Okay.
Let's see what I can do here. All right. All right, I'll share my screen one more time with you all. I think I'll leave it out of the presentation mode just so that we don't run into that issue again. But here we have photos from This Will Change, which was part of our Jan Term Skillshare in 2017. Anyone like to go first in speaking about it? Yeah, Aiden.
I feel like I am talking a lot, but I can definitely speak on this project also. I am in two of those pictures. So this was, I think, a really unique project in that this actually happened during our Jan term time. And it was I believe there was not, this was my second year also, and I believe there wasn't a Jan term the year before. So this was kind of a resurgence, I think, right?
No, Skies was the Jan term.
Oh,
before,
that's right. Yep, that's right.
but they had recently stopped doing Jan term classes.
Right, that's what it was. But this project was really interesting in that everyone who worked on this project came together. We all were on campus for the entirety of Jan term to work on this project. And all of us had the opportunity to help build and create, much like Intimacy in Motion, build and create this entire show from a concept. And at this point, we had come up with the concept ourselves. There's so many details to this that I'm sure that other people could speak on also, but I think the major thing that I took away from this entire project was that it was the first time I had gotten to work on lights. It was the first time I'd gotten to work on set. Like, it really changed the course of the way that I did theater going forward from that point. And it helps me understand that there's not one path that you have to take in Hampshire theater. You can focus on one thing, but do any number of other things. I think that was a really important takeaway for me.
Yeah, Ezekiel.
I think I'm going to make a broader point off of this, which is that I think another thing this shows really elegantly is that Hampshire theater is not a program that makes one kind of theater. And I think that is something that is really sort of something that is a real strength of Hampshire theater, is that there is space for devised work like this that is sort of collaboratively generated. There's space for work that is plays that are written by students, getting full productions like Hanius, and there's space for pre-existing scripts that are directed and produced, like our production of Next to Normal, that I don't think is in the slideshow, but like was also a thing that many of us were involved in. So I think there's the fact that there's space both for extant work, for new scripted work, and devised work, sort of in equal portion, I think is a strength of the program.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up and for mentioning Next to Normal. It was a great production. Yeah, Del.
I don't want to add too much more, but I do want to just state what Jan term is. So it's the period of time. So they usually give us like 2 weeks for like winter break. I mean, usually we get a whole month off, everyone does, but 2 of the weeks are like the Christmas break sort of time. And then I think it's at least 2 weeks, depending on the year, that you like apply to stay on campus. I think everyone had to go home for the 2 weeks prior. And then, so we had to apply to stay on campus. So not everyone is granted the opportunity to be on campus during that time, but there are other projects and other departments going on at that same time as well. And like I mentioned, there used to be classes that took place during that time, but at the moment that is no longer a thing. So now people get to do projects like this.
Great. Let's see, moving on to another Jan term Skillshare in 2018, which was devising across disciplines. You can see Ezekiel and Sam photoed here. Would anyone like to go first in talking about it and what it was like? Yeah, Ezekiel.
Yeah, I'll be brief on this one because I want to get towards the questions that people have. But I will say that I think a thing that made this project unique is that there wasn't a focus on presenting a sort of final piece from it. It was a Skillshare developed specifically to sort of learn new skills from each other. So we kind of established a list of disciplines that we wanted to learn in, everything from theater to like theater of the oppressed work and theater creation, shop work, and other things to like photo editing and crocheting and archiving and all these other skill sets. And then we sort of taught like modular workshops on them to each other. And that was held by the theater program, but I think is a great example of how the theater program supports work that is transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary that has a foot in theater and a foot somewhere else.
Great, thank you. Let's see, moving on to another Skillshare from 2019. Yeah, Aiden, would you like to speak on it?
Yeah, I was one of the 3 facilitators. You can see all 3 of us here for the Persons of Color Artists Collective that happened in the Jan term of 2019. I just think this project was a really excellent, similar to the Skillshare the year before, an excellent example of creating an intentional community to teach each other things that is less focused on the final project and more focused on the process. This is not a unique thing that happens in Hampshire theater. The ability to create a space that is for a specific group of people crops up actually fairly often. This is one of the, I think, 3 or 4 projects that I worked on in my time at Hampshire that was specifically focused on people of color and giving them opportunities to have their own space. So I think this was a really important project, and this type of project has gone forward from there.
Great, thank you, Aiden. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to the last slide, which has many photos from our Designing Escape Room course in fall of 2018. Fiona, if you'd like to start us off.
So yeah, this was so much fun. So for this class, Designing Escape Rooms, I was able to be one of 3 production managers in this process, and it was a really great experience. It combined game design and theater in a really unique way and really brought together these 2 groups of students who in other times might not interact that much, definitely hadn't taken classes with a lot of these students before, and now we are working in the same space, collaborating, creating together, and it was really great. It was so much fun to bring new people into the theater who hadn't necessarily done theater before, but who are artists and who create in ways that are beneficial to our program. So yeah, I thought it was very cool. Does anyone want to talk more about it?
Yeah, Dell. I think you're muted, Dell.
Sorry, my brain is not working. Okay, so we had, I was one of the TAs for this class. We had 2 professors, 2 TAs, and about 30 students in the class, which is a lot bigger than most Hampshire classes, as you probably know after you've applied to Hampshire. And so it was a big undertaking. It took place in the smaller of our 2 theaters. You don't really, I mean, that one shot in the bottom is a little warped, but you can kind of see the space there. So it was a really big challenge in a lot of ways, both in the ways that Fiona mentioned in terms of collaboration and like interacting with new people and people who have totally different skill sets than you do, but also people learning lots of new skills, like people doing construction for the first time and painting and, you know, being in any kind of theater space or learning how to run a light or soundboard. So it was a really good example of ways that we can also be interdisciplinary within a classroom space. This was the first time this class had ever been done. It might happen in the future, we don't know, but it was really cool. And then eventually we got to run it as an actual escape room, and it was very popular. I think our teachers would have liked to have done more, having more people go in. But yeah, it was really cool. There's a video on the YouTube channel if you want to watch me awkwardly talk about it in another haircut. Yeah.
Thanks, Dell. Yeah, Ezekiel.
We did, even in the run we were able to do, we had about, I think, between 150 and 200 people go through the escape room in small groups and operated that as one would operate an escape room in the outside world. And I think that was also a really valuable piece of that process. Yeah.
I was muted. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Now let's move on to some of your questions in the chat. Let's see. I'm sorry if I've missed some of your messages to myself. Let's see. Looks like our first question is from Nikki. Hi, how many shows/projects do you do in a year usually? I can take that away for now. Generally, our seasons vary from year to year, and we usually try to put on at least 3 productions a year, 2 in the spring and 1 slot in the fall. Our fall is usually reserved for what we call lab slots, which are generally reserved for younger students and students either just earlier on in their studies at Hampshire, where they can explore different workshops, staged readings, and other mediums of performance art. Just so the stakes are lower and give folks the chance to still explore what it is that they want to pursue and the ideas that they want to present to our community. Yeah, Del.
The ones it has mentioned are ones that people apply for in slots. We have a committee that gets built. A number of us who graduated were on that committee. And people apply, they submit a show that they want to do, a team that they want to do that show with. And when you get a spot in the slotted season, you are automatically allotted space and money to support that project. So that being said, there are plenty of opportunities to put on other shows, but you have to apply. Well, you don't have to, but if you want funding for it, you can apply to grants on campus, or you can write up a proposal to theater board, who will then review it and then typically allots you funds for your production. So there's plenty of space to do things outside of the slotted season.
Yeah, Ezekiel.
Yeah, I would tap off of that to say overall there's sort of I would say an incredible amount of student driven work that has at least part theater that goes up in each year. I would say upwards of 12 projects per year easily. Some years upwards of 20 over the course of the 2 semesters. And obviously not all of those are in the theater spaces necessarily or funded, but I would say there's a lot of work. This is a program that generates a lot of work.
Yes. Thanks for folks who spoke up to that. Moving on to another question. What kinds of theater-related festivities can first-year students partake in? This is an interesting question, just because I want to say all. You can partake in all of them. I know at other schools it might be difficult for first-year students to participate in some of the events that are going on in their programs, just because of the competition that is there, and with the larger student size, it makes it difficult. But because of our small and tight-knit community, we're able to really be in conversation with each other on all the different projects that are going on and making them as inclusive as possible, so that students, even in their first week at Hampshire, can get an audition or get into the production team room and just be able to be a part of that process. Yeah, Fiona.
Something that I love so much about Hampshire is that everybody has an opportunity to do theater at any time. You don't have to be a theater student, and you can be first year, first semester. My first semester, in my first month, I ended up working on Dell's Div 2 show, which was so much fun. And I've been granted opportunities to work on shows every semester. And I think that our program puts a lot of focus on making sure that students who want to be involved are, and we usually have the space to allow people to be involved in our projects. We love to have students, first and second year students, be mentored by older students in positions and other things like that. So like Tiz said, all theater, you can be involved in all of it, and we'd love to have you there.
Yeah, like,
I also just want to emphasize that, like, even if you're not a concentrator in theater, or even if you're just figuring it out, you can be involved in the theater. Like, I'm mainly focused on other things in my studies, but I've definitely been involved in like theater classes and just involved in the theater and like go to lots of performances and like know a lot of friends and stuff in the theater. So yeah, don't feel like if you have other interests that you can't be involved. There's a lot of ways to be involved.
yeah, and just to sort of close out on this one question, we like to host orientation, open houses, and other festivities to help bring in new students so that they can meet our faculty and our staff and other current students, just to get those conversations started, because oftentimes it can be difficult to really make your way over to those spaces. So we try to accommodate that feeling and really embrace it and make sure that everyone knows where to go, knows how to get this information, and knows who to talk to, and knows that, you know, we're all here just to make art with each other. Yeah, Fiona.
Sort of on that note, I see a related question in the chat about how do new students get involved. There are a ton of ways. Through classes is one way, but yes, you can definitely audition. I have never approached an audition at Hampshire that wasn't open to everybody. And you can also come to theater board and talk to us, tell us about what you want to do, what you want to be involved in, and we can help get you connected to students who are doing projects that you might be interested in. So there are a lot of ways to get involved. Also, if you see a show is happening on campus, you can go and talk to that student and say, I want to be involved in your project, and they will 99% of the time say, yes, please be involved in my project.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Fiona. Let's see, what's another question we have in the chat? Do resources from the 5 colleges impact our work in theater? Yes. Does anyone, Fiona, if you can speak more specifically to that?
Yes, I do a lot of things in the costume shop, and one of the things that's really fantastic is that the 5 colleges also each have their own costume collection. And I haven't personally drawn from the costume collections of the other schools, but costumes can be drawn from all of those places and have been for different productions as well. I took, oh my gosh, last semester, an acting class at Smith and got to meet kind of Smith people and see how the theater is run there. So there's definitely a lot of exchange of both directors, designers, classes, and also you can audition. Open auditions are for all of the 5 colleges. So if you want to see, or if you see an interesting production at another college, if you're an actor, you can go and audition there. So there's a lot of exchange.
Yeah, Ezekiel?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to this because I love the 5 college consortium, and I think it's like an incredibly undervalued, like it's a resource that people don't always think about at the beginning, but it's incredibly valuable that you can go to a school that is the size of Hampshire and yet have access to this giant range of courses at all of the schools, be able to work with faculty and staff at all of the schools, and work in production across the schools. I stage managed a production at Mount Holyoke when I was a student. I also stage managed for the 5 college opera, which was a fun and wild experience, and the first time that I ever called a show in Yoruba. And there's just such a range of opportunities and resources available across the 5 colleges. And I think that by and large, my experience has been that students from each of the colleges are really excited to welcome students from the other colleges into their theater programs. And yeah.
Great, thanks everyone for answering that. Let's see.
Could we do one of the theater board questions?
Oh, yes, thank you, Del. Do you mind speaking to that?
Yeah, I see there's a couple. There's one that's talking more about what, I think it says what theater board is. It's really hard to scroll on this thing. Talk more about the roles on theater board, and someone else asked how many people are on theater board. It varies from year to year because some roles, they no longer provide, people don't have interest or the role isn't necessary anymore. So sometimes roles get, what is the word? I was about to say closeted, but that's the wrong word.
Retired, maybe?
Yeah.
Retired, yes.
Yeah, so there's, we have a facilitator who is Tiz now, but has been Ezekiel, and is also Hannah, who can't be here today. There's props monitor, which a bunch of us were props monitors. Budget coordinator. We have 2 delegates. Most of the positions are a year-long position that you'll hold. The way that elections work is it's a community event where people come, and if you're interested in running for a position that's up for re-election, you raise your hand. If there's only one person interested, they automatically get the position. But if there's a number of people, then both the theater board people present and the community members get to vote on the person that they think is best for the role. So they do like a little bit of a speech about themselves and why they think they're a good fit for the role. The 2 delegate positions are really good for first-year students or people who are just getting into the theater community, who want to be involved more, and it's less of a commitment because you don't have the same sorts of responsibilities as other people, and especially within the 1 semester time frame, but you can take on different tasks that people need help with or support with. So did I say budget coordinator? We have space monitor. Oh my God, it's been a year and now my brain forgets. Community contact, Fiona. Now we have dance liaison. That is your title, right? What else is there? Oh, we had archivist. I don't know if we still have archivist, but Samuel was the archivist. But for instance, like my role as props monitor meant that I was in charge of all of the props that we held in our inventory. So I would facilitate the borrowing transaction. So anytime a theater student, a film student, someone doing an art project needed to borrow a prop, they would go through me to borrow it. I would do the upkeep, I would organize it. Same with space monitor. They would go to someone who's interested in using a space to put on a show, would go to the space monitor to to use the space and to sign up, basically. Basically, we're all here as like a resource, and all the meetings are open to the community. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking.
No, thank you, Del. That was very comprehensive of all the different roles, and we honestly just don't have all the time in the world to really go in depth into what experiences you'll have on theater board and the various responsibilities the roles carry, because while we do have designated responsibilities, it's all very fluid, and we're all very collaborative with one another. I do want to take note that it is 8 o'clock, and while we did start late, we want to make sure that we're respecting everyone's time this evening. So if you need to leave now, we totally understand and respect that. We just want to make sure that that is known to you all before we close out, or before we go on for a few more minutes to answer some of our questions and then close out for the evening. So yeah, otherwise, yeah, Blythe.
Also, if folks have questions, you can always email the admissions office and they'll send those questions along to us. So if you didn't get your question answered, or if you have other things that come up, please, we're here, we'll answer your questions, so let us know.
Thank you for reminding me of that. See, we're all helping each other out. Ezekiel.
I had a couple, just one more thought on theater board, which is another thing that I love with all of my heart, like the consortium, which is that I think theater board is a really unique body in the landscape of undergraduate college theater programs. It is, theater board does a lot of the things that faculty and staff governance typically do in a lot of programs in terms of managing the resources of the program, money, space, inventory. And I think that's really is like in a lot of ways, theater board is the closest thing you have to like a chance to run your own theater company before you go out into the world and potentially run your own theater company. And that is one of the things that I do now, and it's really good practice. Like the things that I learned through facilitating theater board and working on theater board are the same things that I talk about in board meetings in the outside world and in governing a theater company. And so I think there's sort of tremendous merit in that. And I just wanted to touch on the role of faculty question too, because I think that's also important. Faculty do direct and run projects. About once every other year, but it varies, sometimes more frequently than that. There is like a faculty-driven show, but faculty have a pretty significant role within all projects as an advisor. So often faculty members will sit in on rehearsals for a show that one of their students is directing or stage managing or designing. They'll often discuss the process of production in their meetings with students and with the faculty and staff collectively. So I think there's a lot of, the faculty do less in terms of like taking the roles, but do a lot of advising and mentoring of students and of the program as a whole. So they're definitely still really actively involved.
Thanks, Ezekiel. It looks like you also have another question for you in particular regarding the stage management that you've done within the 5 colleges. It's particularly, were those positions from taking classes at those campuses, or were they open to other Hampshire students? And how do you apply for that kind of position?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that varies campus to campus. In the cases that I was talking about specifically, one of those productions was directed by a Hampshire professor who was directing at Mount Holyoke. And so she kind of brought me along and we worked together on that, which was also just great. And the 5 College Opera was through taking a lighting design class at Mount Holyoke and then working with that professor further. But I would say in general, there often are open calls for positions posted in the same way that audition notices are posted. And another way is to reach out to the particularly staff members at the other colleges' theater programs. Most of them have like a publicity coordinator type role, and they tend to know most of the things that are going on. Also, a lot of them have like student theater pages, and they're almost always looking for students, and Hampshire students tend to be well-rounded, self-sufficient, and innovative, which are all great qualities to bring to a production.
Thanks, Ezekiel. Let's see. Oh, there's a question about courses and faculty. Were there any experiences in courses or with our professors at Hampshire that have particularly inspired our work? Yes, Aiden.
Yeah, I think that one of the more interesting places that I got a lot of inspiration was I worked all 4 years at Hampshire at the Hampshire College Early Learning Center in the infant classroom and a little bit in the preschool classroom. But I spent a lot of time getting inspiration and working with kids specifically. And so did my partner. That's actually where the idea for our joint Div 3 came up, was working with the preschoolers on the concept of home. So I think that I'm sure that everyone has a similar story about like you can draw inspiration from any course, any instructor, any field that inspires you on the campus, and somebody else is going to be interested in your work regardless of where you gain your inspiration for it.
Thanks for that, Aiden. Are there any other folks who'd like to speak to that? Yeah, Fiona.
Yeah, Professor Peter Kalick has taught many, many design courses to me and has been a big inspiration in my work, and has been a really amazing influence, I think, rather than the word inspiration, because he really helps students to find their own designs rather than inspire them to create a certain type of design, if that makes sense. So like in his class, Setting the Stage, which was about set design and costume design, I took that my sophomore year, and that really helped me realize that I love set design so much and it's what I want to do, and that I'm going to continue studying it. And so now that's a large part of my Div 3. So yeah, I've definitely been inspired by all of our theater staff. They're all amazing human beings. But yes, Peter has definitely been a design inspiration and influence for me.
Thanks, Fiona. I just wanted to take some time to recognize that folks were asking for some of our social media links, and currently in the chat, we have one Facebook link to the Hampshire College Theatre Board Facebook page, and another that will take you to the programs page as a whole. So you can look at that to see our past activities that we've posted on there, and just a way as to keep in touch with us if you'd like. It's currently 8:09, so I do want to, oh, and it looks like Ezekiel posted a YouTube link. Oh, is this for Margot's musical?
Yeah, it's so good. You should all watch it. It's a radio version of this musical that she wrote as her Div 3, and it has animations that go with it, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. That's all.
Yes, thanks for posting that. I would say we should all watch it together, but you did not sign up for that. So with that, I did have plans for other things tonight, but I think it's probably best that we close up for now. So I'd like to invite Emily back into the chat. Oh, Ezekiel, one last thing.
Yeah, I want to mention another Div 3 project from this year that you can see online as well, just because I think it's, now that so much is online, it's good to see ways that the Hampshire theater students are working with that and continuing to make work through this all. And this is Grail Night, which is a piece that I'm directing that is a new script that is going to have a live Zoom performance of the first act tomorrow night, and then the next 2 acts over the next 2 weeks. So it'll be like a weekly thing. And I've never done a performance over Zoom before. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be interesting and wild. And that's, again, student written. And the script was developed through a workshop process with students and alums and community members, which I think is also a thing to note, that often productions also have actors from the community in them, in addition to students.
Yes, that's true. Thanks, Ezekiel. Welcome back, Emily.
Hello, I've been lurking in the background. I never truly left. Just wanted to give Theater Board the space. Thank you all so much for joining our participants. Thank you for giving us this time this evening. And also a huge thank you to Theater Board and our wonderful panelists, be they students or alums. I learned a lot about the theater program. I hope that our admitted students also feel like they learned something. One last time, I threw admissions@hampshire.edu in the chat. You know it, you love it. That's the best way to get in touch. Reach out to us at admissions and we can put you in touch with faculty, students, just answer more of your general questions or answer more of your theater board specific questions. We are happy to help you out as we go through these next few weeks of making decisions. So yeah, last time, thank you again. And I hope everybody has a great evening.
Have a great night.
Night. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Be well.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm bad at leaving.
Yeah. I didn't want to leave in case, in case there were things that should be debriefed. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Emily?
We can have a quick debrief. I see Jade is still joining us. Also.